Okay, I have noon and we are streaming and looks like we have all our panelists present. And at this time, I'd like to welcome our registered attendees and those viewing the live stream to today's public input session on proposed route changes with Charlottesville Area Transit. Today's panelists include representatives from Charlottesville Area Transit, Kinetics Transportation Group, and Kimley Horn. My name is Joe Rice with the City Communications Office. We are hosting the Zoom webinar, and I'll be moderating today's Q&A between our panelists and the public. And at this time, I'm going to hand it over to Kyle Irvin, CAT's marketing coordinator, for an introduction to our panelists.
Happy Friday, everyone. I hope you all are having a beautiful day. Before we start, I would like to thank, first of all, the City of Charlottesville Communications Department for hosting our series of public meetings, and Kinetics Transportation Group and Kimley Horn that is with us today for making this opportunity possible. Whenever a transit agency proposes route changes, it is imperative that the public is able to share their voice. So we want to thank you for being here and lending your time to us today. Before we make introductions, I'll let you know that Jim Baker from Kinetics will be presenting a presentation of the route changes. But before we dive in, I would like to hand it over to our director, Garland Williams, for some brief remarks.
Thank you, Kyle. Today we want to embark on a journey that allows us to get some feedback from the public. It is our intention to make sure that we get feedback and make adjustments to the CAT system that is fruitful for everyone, and make sure that the system is as productive as it possibly can be. One of the things that we did during the pandemic was hire Kimley Horn, which in turn hired Kinetics Transportation Group out of Atlanta, so we could take a wholehearted deep dive into our transit system. We've had declining ridership for the last 7 years. We needed to figure out how to mitigate that, turn it around, put a stop on it, and put our best foot forward to make sure that the adjustments that we're going to put in place will allow us to be productive. The state system requires us to be as productive as we possibly can be because it has funding implications for CAT. So in the long term, this is not intended to be a system where the adjustments here are not designed to be the end all to be all. The region itself will be doing a deeper dive as a part of the regional plan, but this is kind of our stopgap measure to allow us to cut off that declining ridership and move forward. So with that, I'm going to introduce the rest of the team, and then we'll let Jim start the presentation. So I'll start it off with Jawan Lee.
Good morning, everyone, or good afternoon, I should say. My name is Jawan Lee. I'm the Assistant Director for Operations for Charlottesville Area Transit, and we look forward to hearing your feedback.
Ben?
Hi, good morning. This is Ben Chambers. I'm with Kimley Horn. We're based out of the Richmond office, and we do transportation planning. We've been helping out CAT over the past few months.
And Jim Baker.
Yes, and hello, everybody. I'm Jim Baker with Kinetics Transportation Group.
Jim, if you want to go ahead and take it, we're ready to rock and roll.
Okay. Okay, so we do have a number of service proposals that we'd like to review with everyone today here. These are service proposals that we've been working on over the past few months with Garland and his team here. So let's move on to the next slide. This is the existing CAT network as you know it today, with 13 routes. 4 of those routes operate on Sundays. As you can see there today, generally about 62,500 people in the Charlottesville area are within a quarter mile of a stop of transit service. Of course, when COVID hit there, CAT did dial back their service. They did not change the service coverage, but they did reduce frequencies, and they ended service at 9 o'clock, and they temporarily suspended Sunday service as a cleaning day for their buses. And generally, it was about a 30% reduction in overall service hours. That was very typical to what you saw a lot of systems, particularly systems CAT size, did in response to COVID. Next, please. As Garland mentioned earlier, ridership for CAT, prior to COVID has been dropping from about 2.4 million in 2013 down to just over 2 million in 2018. And that's meant that the service is becoming less productive. It's carrying fewer people for every hour of service that a bus is out on the streets. So that's something that we want to try to address with some service, these proposed service changes. Next, please. When we started this project, we sat down with Garland and Joanne, and we talked about just what are the key service objectives that we want to try to accomplish with these potential service changes. And there was a couple of areas where it's been expressed that new service was desired, specifically on South First Street and to the center on Rio Road. There was a desire to get Sunday service back and get this evening service back as well. That was temporarily suspended as a result of COVID, but also just to get 30-minute or better service to more people in the Charlottesville area. And also just make sure that there's no route operating worse than a 60-minute service frequency. And then finally, the free trolley is, of course, such an important part of the CAT network. That service was reduced as well in response to COVID. So the desire to get that back to its 15-minute service frequency. Next, please. So we're going to go through route by route the proposed network changes. You're going to see that there's some improved service connectivity to the US 29 corridor and a new crosstown route as well from South Charlottesville up to the US 29 corridor. You're going to see that there's more service that's operating at 30-minute service frequencies, some expanded weekend service coverage, as well as some new service in both the county and within the city that we'll highlight. Next, please. So what we accomplished with these proposed service changes is we did improve overall population accessibility a little bit by 2% on weekdays, 5% on Saturdays, 10% on Sundays, but most importantly, we improved access to 30-minute or better service frequencies, a 20% improvement to accessibility to 30-minute or better transit service. And you can see that it also meant improvements for minority population accessibility and low-income population accessibility. Next. So we're going to go through route by route and talk through the proposed changes. And you're going to, so we're going to start with Route 1, and the maps on the right will show what the proposed service alignments are for each route. And with Route 1, there's really no significant alignment changes that are proposed, but probably the biggest change for Route 1 is right now this route only operates on weekdays, and we're proposing that it also operate on Saturdays as well. Next. Route 2, this is a significant change for sure here. Currently, there's one direction service on Avon Street with Route 2. We're proposing that it's going to be two patterns here. There's a Route 2A pattern and a Route 2B pattern. One going through 5th Street Station to Willoughby Shopping Center, one providing new service out in the county along Mill Creek to the Piedmont College there. So both operating at 60-minute frequency. So you get a trunk 30-minute frequency when those two routes come together at just at the 5th Street Station drive there. So a significant change here. Next. Route 3, this route here, we're proposing to break up Route 3 where this service here, along 5th Street would be 30-minute frequencies all day long. That's a change from what it is today, where it does not operate at 30 minutes all day long. And we're also proposing that this route operate on Sundays. It currently does not today, so that'll be some new Sunday service that does not exist as well. Next. And then the eastern part of Route 3, that would continue to operate as it currently does, but at a 60-minute service frequency. So still maintain the service coverage there on this eastern part of Route 3 on weekdays and Saturdays. Next. Route 4, this is the alignment that the route currently operates today, so there's no change in the alignment, but what is changed here is that it would operate all day long at 60-minute service frequencies. Right now, there's time periods when this route's operating at a 70-minute frequency, which means that you really can't time transfers to other routes. So by having that 60-minute all-day frequencies, that'll help with transfer, time transfer opportunities to other routes at the downtown transit station. And then Route 5, this is a significant change here as well. Currently, the Route 5 starts at Barracks Road, goes to Fashion Square Mall, and then continues on up to the Walmart. And so you're going to see later on, we're proposing that Route 7 go up to the Walmart. So this route would terminate at Fashion Square Mall, and instead we would extend this route south into some new areas of the city and through the UVA campus area to the UVA hospital. So it's providing some additional transit service connections between the UVA hospital and the UVA campus to Barracks Road that currently does not exist. And it would operate at 30-minute frequencies, weekdays and Saturdays. Okay, Route 6, another route with where we're kind of proposing modifications to this route. This is providing some new service on First Street South, the service requests that we were asked to try to address. Currently, that deviates up to the UVA hospital, but only in one direction. You're going to see we have another route that's going to do that. So the Route 8. So this is going to be where just all routes are doing both directions, the same service from Willoughby Shopping Center up to downtown, to the downtown transit station. Again, operating at a 60-minute frequencies, weekdays and Saturdays. Next. Okay, and then Route 7. Yeah, this is such an important route for the existing CAT network here, and so we're suggesting that this route be extended, from Fashion Square Mall up to Walmart. If you're familiar with the existing service today, you know that Route 12 does that on Sundays. Well, we're proposing that Route 7 operates 7 days a week, operating from the downtown transit station to Walmart. So it eliminates the need for anyone trying to get to or from the Walmart to have to transfer to Route 5 at Fashion Square like they currently have to do today. We're suggesting that this route operate at 30-minute frequencies, and that it also, during the high demand periods on weekdays, that we supplement that with some additional service between the downtown transit station and Barracks so that we have 15-minute frequencies in that segment. So, 15 minutes from downtown to the Barracks Road with every other bus continuing on up to Fashion Square and to the Walmart. And again, this would operate Sundays as well. And then Route 8. This is a significant change for sure. We're proposing a new crosstown service from the South Charlottesville area up to the US 29 corridor. So from Willoughby Square, it's going through the UVA hospital complex, and then on up to the shops at Stonefield, and it would be operating at 60-minute frequencies, weekdays and Saturdays. So it means that there's a way to get from the south end of downtown up to the US 29 corridor without having to go downtown and transfer to another route. Next. And then Route 9, what we're suggesting here is that this route, it goes from downtown, it continues to serve the YMCA, but it continues on up and operates parallel to the US 29 corridor, all the way up to Fashion Square Mall. So It's just another, some supplemental service in that's very important corridor where there's so much employment, and a way to get from the north end of Charlottesville to downtown, and operating 60-minute frequencies weekdays and Saturdays. And then the 10 serves Pantops and the hospital on the east side of town. What we've suggested here is some modifications where right now, currently the Route 10, it stops at Pantops Shopping Center outbound, but not inbound. So we're proposing that it stops at Pantops both directions, both inbound and outbound. And currently there's a big loop at the end of line there at the east end. We're proposing to modify that so you have 2-direction service along the entire route. Another major change is Route 10 currently operates at 60-minute frequencies. We're proposing that this operate at 30-minute frequencies on weekdays. So improved service to get to the east side of town, to get to Pantops as well. And then also adding Sunday service as well to this route, so that you have Sunday service connections out here to this part of Charlottesville. Route 11, similar alignment to what it is today, but a few modifications in order to get the service to the center at Belvedere off of Rio Road. One thing to note is that we would be serving the center on the northbound trips. Unfortunately, at this time, it's just we're not able to serve it in the southbound direction because there's no traffic signal there at Belvedere. But we'll have that service connection there, and we'll be operating this at 60-minute frequencies weekdays and Saturdays. And then finally, the trolley, getting the trolley back on McCormick Road through the UVA campus and getting it back to 15-minute service frequencies like it ran pre-pandemic as well. Garland, do you want to cover the next steps?
Yes, so part of what I want to do is, before we go to the next steps, is highlight a couple of things that Jim just said. So one of the things that I am very thrilled about is that this plan restores all the service that we had prior to COVID. And we also remove all of the service that is over 60 minutes. So no route in our system with the proposed changes will be over 60 minutes. We actually improve a significant portion of our system to most of them going to 30 minutes or better. I believe that's six or seven routes that would do that. We propose new service areas in the city and in Albemarle County. And then there's a significant increase in service on Saturdays and Sundays in the coverage expansion on those 2 service days. And then one of the major things that will be a major improvement is the reduction of transfers. There's more one-seat routes in this plan. So our next steps is after getting the authorization and approval, which we've basically already tentatively gotten through the budget process. Our next step is to conduct what is required by the feds, the Title VI analysis, determine if there is any adverse service impacts to the minority or low-income populations. That will happen after the public meetings. We will have a separate set of consultants do a Title VI analysis and report back to us, and we will in turn report to council. Attain the input that we're getting now. This is the first meeting. The second meeting is actually on next Wednesday, the 19th. And as we're doing that, we are already starting our process internally for the operations side of looking for locations for bus stops. Important as we put new service in, there's new coverage, there's no bus stops, so we need to add bus stops in to allow people to use the service. And then Jim and his team has already been working to do tentative schedules, and once that is done, then we'll have an opportunity to get with our internal staff to get their work assignments. So we'll be ready for projected service probably the first week of September. But that's kind of the next steps. So as we are working through this and we're desperately needing the impact, one of the things that I wanted to highlight is, Kyle, if you'll pull up one of the ways that individuals can get additional information is go to our website, and you can actually go back and look at the plan that Jim just went through. There's a key there that allows you to go through. Public presentation is there, and there's a story map. Once you click on the story map in the public presentation, the story map will bring up this screen and allow you to kind of read as to what the intention of the plan is, and then allow you to actually go in the existing map itself and see where we are from the proposed to the existing to the proposed. Then you can go actually route by route and take a look at the span of service, the coverage, the frequencies, and do a comparison. So we're very happy with the way that you'll have more interaction. And at the end, there's a little bit of feedback for us, or a survey. If you have an opportunity, please take an opportunity to do a survey. So we'll mention that one more time at the end, but you'll have an opportunity to specifically give us specific feedback on each individual right if you so choose to do so. With that, we're going to open it up. Joe, if you will start the public participation process, we greatly appreciate it.
Thank you, Garland, and thank you all. And yes, at this time, our panelists will be taking questions from our registered attendees. If you would click your raise hand icon, we'll call on you in the order of hands raised. And I see one hand, and that is from Ethan Hale. And Ethan, you're on with our panelists.
Yeah, thanks everyone. I appreciate this opportunity to see what's coming in terms of the future of CAT. I think the opportunities that were outlined in the beginning are commendable, and it's great and exciting to see these changes. I have one question, and that's during this consideration and evaluation, did you consider the impact of travel time and valuing the travel of the folks who ride these different routes, and whether that would impact ridership? In one particular example that stood out to me was among many of the routes that go along the 29 North corridor, they tend to do sort of the side roads as opposed to the main road. Was there any evaluation of doing some type of express service or something that would be that would reduce the amount of time from sort of end to end on a route?
Jim, you want me to do that, or you want to take a first stab at it?
Yeah, I'd be happy to take a start, and then you can elaborate. But yeah, certainly one of the issues with transit service planning is you're looking at accessibility versus speed there. And US 29 corridor, there's just not a safe corridor to have stops on the road itself. So that's why CAT has to operate the way they do along that corridor. We try to speed things up as best as we could through that corridor, and we're actually trying to streamline service a little bit through some of the shopping centers there in this plan, but there's still just a need to have that accessibility in the corridor.
Yeah, the only thing I would add is that we are always looking at how to right size our system. That's part of our planning efforts. Accessibility is a key component. First, individuals, we need to make sure that the routes are going to where the activity centers are, so individuals will want to use our service. We want to streamline it as much as we possibly can, but we also need to make sure that we're running an urban system, which means we need to be able to stop as frequently as we possibly can to allow individuals to get on and use our service to get them to their final destination. Express services typically are points of origin to point of destination with maybe one or two stops in the middle. On a fixed route system, we want more than that because we are looking at activity centers along the entire route that allow us to get as many people to the route as possible to get to their final destination.
Our next question comes from Todd Cohn. Todd, you're on with our panelists.
Hi. I was real glad to see the stop being added on Route 11 for the center at Belvedere. But apparently there's no return. So if I get on the 11 bus downtown and ride to the center and get off and spend my afternoon there, how do I get home?
You do get home. It's just that you have to ride around, unfortunately, because it's unsafe for us to go across an unsignalized intersection. A CAT vehicle is not a car, so it's a 30-foot bus or a 35-foot bus trying to make it across 6 lanes of traffic. It's not a safe way for us to do so, to go southbound towards downtown. So you are able, you'll just have to get on it in the center and basically ride around.
Okay, because you're going to have to advise riders about that. Otherwise, that's just going to confuse them. They'll either not want to go to Fashion Square, or they may want to walk across Belvedere where there's no light and no crosswalk, and try to get on the stop at Rio and K-Tech. Do you have any plan to do that?
Part of our system is designed, as we're getting your feedback now. We will highlight that as a part of the change at the Belvedere on the route, that it's a one-way stop. You're able to use it in both directions, but it's we're only going to the center in one direction. So you will only see the bus when it's going northbound come to the center, and that will, regardless of whether you're going or coming, that will be the same location where you get on and off, just allow you to ride around.
Our next question comes from Carmelita Wood. Carmelita, you're on with our panelists.
Hi, I just have a few points to make. When Route 6 was changed, speaking of the low-income services, it inconvenienced a lot of elderly people, handicapped people, whereas they would catch the bus and ride to Food Line. They could catch 2 or 3 back down Cherry, but coming up that big hill at Bailey Road carrying their groceries was kind of hard, and they didn't want to ride all the way around downtown, which would take an hour to try to get back home. Another point I'd like to bring up, that on some of the routes are 4 and 6 on Cherry, and I think it's Bailey Road and 5th Street. There's no coverage from the weather and the heat. They recently put in seating, but in some areas, well, most of the areas, there's no coverage for the rain and the snow and the heat, as I said. Also, with the small area plan for Cherry Avenue, I was just wondering how this change, or if any, it would affect the Route 4. And also on Cherry, there's a bus stop, but I think it's right on the corner of Cherry and 5th. We are thinking that it may need to be moved to another spot so that it's not blocking the cars coming out of 5th Street. And it's right at a crosswalk, which make it inconvenience for people trying to walk, and the buses stop there. Those are just a few things that I wanted to bring up when you're looking at making some changes. Thank you.
I appreciate that very much, Ms. Wood. Juwan, actually, will you talk about a little bit about the effort that you and Steve are doing right now in assessing our bus stops?
Yeah, we're currently beginning the process of a complete overview of all our stops. So what we're trying to do is go out there and see where our stops is and what kind of conditions they are in and what amenities they have. We do have a lot of stops that are legacy stops that we just have been our stops forever. We don't know how they got there. So we want to look at everything, look at the condition of the infrastructure of the location, and see what we can do to improve it. Does the stop need to be here? If so, then how can we make it better? Poles, signs, amenities such as shelters and benches, those will all get looked at, along with can we move the stop up a little bit or down a little bit to put it in a better location? Like I said, maybe possibly out of traffic or crosswalk areas. But yeah, we are beginning that process. We're also looking to come up with a standardized format for all our stops so they're consistent throughout the system. So it's multi-pronged attack on reviewing our stops, and at least, the last 10 years or so, we really haven't had that done. So I think this will bring about a lot of improvements to individual stops.
I would just say that this is an important first step that we have to do. So we know what we have, and then we're able to package that, make a request to the state for additional funding dollars or to the feds for funding dollars for amenities. We are working behind the scenes to make this come to fruition, meaning look at our entire system, look at the amenities we have in place, see if the amenities are sufficient, and if not, then put a plan in place where we will be able to apply for funding to rectify the situation. That's coming. No, it's not as fast as everybody wants, but it's normally the transit process is we have to look at it, request it, and it is funded in potentially another year. So we're working as fast as we can to get through that process so we can request additional fundings in the upcoming fiscal year budget.
If anyone else has questions for our panelists, please click your raise hand icon, or if you're joining us by phone, press *9. Next, we have Anthony Woodard. Anthony, you're on with our panelists. Go ahead.
Hey, can you all hear me okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, so clearly you guys have put a lot of thought and effort into this, so thank you for that. I just want to talk real quick about the intersection of McIntyre Road and Harris Street. There's currently no service there and no proposed service there. There's a lot of employment opportunity there, a lot of nonprofits in the area, the Habitat Store, Blue Jar Food Bank nearby, and then soon to be over 200 residents living back there, as well as other neighborhoods nearby. The closest next stop is over half a mile away. I'm just curious if you guys had a chance to look at that area and if there was any discussion about that or why it didn't make it on the map. Thank you.
So I believe, Mr. Woodard, I think I've talked to you and your group before. At this point in time, I believe that what we're looking at is the intersection that you're talking about that doesn't meet the qualifications at this point. As the additional residents come in, it will definitely it'll definitely come back on our map as a potential area for expansion of service. But once we get past that area, the route itself is designed to primarily connect, bringing in the Albemarle County Court, the Albemarle County Administrative Building. So if we deviated off of that route, we wouldn't pass by that, which is a major activity center. But we are definitely looking at potentially, that route could create an AB model like we've done in others. It just the activity center and what is there has to be there prior to us putting the additional service in place, and then we'd have to figure out how to fund it. So at this point, we are trying to make sure that we didn't leave any areas that we have right now uncovered in our existing system, but make some additional improvements. But it's not off of the table, but in the existing model, it's kind of if we have additional funding, it would be looked at. And then when the additional residents get there, then we probably would look at it as a recommendation to add additional service there.
And next we have Kenneth Martin. Kenneth, you are on with our panelists. Go ahead.
Martin, I believe you're on mute.
Kenneth Martin is here. I still do not understand what kind of bus service will be offered for the Rose Hill Drive and the Page Street neighborhoods. When you take away Route 8 coming down Preston Avenue, Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I would like to know what kind of bus service after you reconfigure will be available for the residents of Rose Hill Drive and for Preston, for 10th and Page Street.
So Route 9 would be providing the service on Rose Hill Drive. So, that'll be still, service coming down Rose Hill Drive to the downtown transit station. The 10th and Page, I don't have a map in front of me to know exactly where that is.
That will be served by the new Route 8, the 10th and Page neighborhood.
Okay, thank you.
So Mr. Martin, you actually, we've provided 2 different routes now to the area. 8 and 9 will have service.
Okay, this will be the last call for questions for our panelists. Just click the raise hand icon or *9 if you're joining us by phone. And looks like Todd Cohn has a follow-up.
Thanks. I also had a question about the CAT advisory board. I started looking at that back pre-COVID about trying to join that, and evidently that's not been functioning this entire time. Is there any plan to reactivate that?
Part of Mr. Cohn, I would love for you to give me a call, but what I've talked to City Council about is trying to figure out what's the best mix for the advisory board, kind of the functionality of it. So we actually are bringing on a consultant to take a look at the structure of the advisory board. I will be making a recommendation to City Council probably early January about potentially making modifications to it, maybe even changing the configuration of it. I think we do need, in my humble opinion, members from the business community on the advisory board. So we'll take a look at it, but it has not been working. We have not been meeting. My major focus during the COVID period was trying to keep service on the road, keep all my operators as safe and healthy as possibly can, and keep the public safe by increasing our cleaning. So we will be getting back to having an advisory board. The functionality of it is kind of up in the air because a lot of the things that the advisory board was supposed to do is being really covered by the RTP. So the dual functionality is kind of not really what we want. We want to have both of them to complement each other. So give us a little time and we'll figure out what the proper mix is for the advisory board.
And our last question comes from Mr. Kenneth Martin, another follow-up.
Oh, I'm unmuted. You can hear me, right? I was wondering also, a very popular destination has been Legal Aid on the corner of 10th and Preston. Will you be providing service to that?
That is also going to be covered by the new Route 8.
And that will conclude our Q&A portion. I'll hand it back over to you, Kyle, for conclusion.
Thanks, Joe. If nobody else has any further remarks, I would like to thank the public for participating. Your input is invaluable. We're going to use your feedback moving forward. And another tool to do that with is what we had previously showed on our website. If you visit catchthecat.org and view our story map, you'll be able to give feedback on any of the routes we covered today, as well as view the presentation that we went over today. If you need another opportunity to participate or you want to tune in again, our next public meeting is next Wednesday, July 21st at 6 p.m. So we hope to see you all there. I hope you all have a great weekend.
Thanks all.